Welcome to the station of decapitation without your head. I'm Nasty Neal.
I'm Treacherous, Trista.
And we're joined by the returning Troy James. Very cool to have
you. Hello, everybody.
Yeah.
Good to see you again.
Yeah.
Hi, Trista. Hi, Neal.
And our third co-host, Troy, was hoping to be here, so we'd have double Troys. It might have made it awkward. People wouldn't know who we're talking to.
Too many Troys.
Yeah.
Couldn't have it.
I don't think you can ever have too many Troys. So how was Ireland? You just got back from Ireland.
Yes, it was amazing. I'm sad to be home. It wasn't the best time of year to travel, but on the good side, a lot of the places we did go to were empty and we got to experience it all for ourselves. I went to Dublin, I went to Galway, I saw all the touristy things you're supposed to see. I saw the Cliffs of Moher, I went to the Aran Islands, I saw Inisheer. It was a wonderful time.
I saw the pictures on your Facebook and they looked awesome.
Thank you. It was great. It was great all the time. And what was really strange was because the sky was an unending gray at 8 o'clock and 12 o'clock and 4 o'clock, you couldn't really tell what time of day it was just looking at the sky.
Yeah. I like that you were creeping around a few times too, yes. You know, in little crevices. Okay.
There were so many castles. Had to be creepy, had to be a little spooky in castles whenever you get the chance.
Yeah, I saw that you said you couldn't keep up. I assume that was with the drinkers in Ireland.
Yes, I made the mistake of. Well, I went to a pub, and because of the pandemic, I haven't really gone out to many places like that. So I thought, well, in Ireland, I got to go to the Irish pub, and I went and I made friends because everyone is so lovely and so friendly there, and promptly got drank under the table. So lessons were learned.
Well, I'm glad you're here. You made it back. So.
Happy to be here.
Yeah. So something I was thinking about, and I hope you don't mind me bringing this up, is you get nervous before interviews.
Yes, so I do.
I was wondering how that works when you're in a movie. When you're actually performing, does that go away?
Well, luckily, when I'm performing, half the time I'm in a crazy costume where I don't look like myself. So it's very easy to separate, monster versus regular me. And the monster can move and do all sorts of cool stuff and growl and scream and all of that I would not normally do. So it's easy to kind of separate the two in my mind there. But once it's me and I can see my face and I'm talking and I can hear my voice, like I'll have to probably watch this afterwards and have it on mute because I hate hearing my voice recorded. That's a different story.
Yeah. Or you could just start growling in interviews.
No.
How about auditions then? Is that a different story?
Not so much. Like, you'd be surprised all the times. I kind of, because I have such a unique skill, I already kind of have a foot in the door, already having like a little advantage. So I know that I'm going for things that I'm already like super good at and awesome at. Other times though, I remember there was I don't know if this is something that other actors have to struggle with, but I had a simple scene where all I had to do was take a glass and pour some whiskey into it, like the same amount as another glass, and cheers. And that took so long because I just couldn't do it like a normal person. We got there, but it's funny that I can crawl on walls and jump off of buildings, no problem. But the minute it comes to something simple as pouring a glass to drink, it takes 5 takes.
That is very funny. But so I remember last time we had you on, you talked about wanting to do some more, I don't call it traditional acting, I guess. How has that been going?
It went all right. I Nightmare Alley just came out, and
I've seen it 3 times actually in the theater. And the very first time I saw it, I was like, "Oh man, there's Troy."
And he doesn't look like a demon or a reptile or a space alien. It was me, and I had a few lines, a couple like talk like a normal person, which was always awkward, but it was so much fun. And after doing that, I would do it again. It was really neat being a regular person back in the 40s.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned when we started about rewatching this, how about watching yourself out of makeup on the big screen? I assume you saw Nightmare Alley on the big screen.
There was one specific scene that I almost covered my eyes at. It was a very long take of me eating potatoes while something
Again, a normal
really
activity
important happened in the background. And I remember watching it thinking, oh, this is a really long time. Like, it's my face right front and center. And I wanted, it was an artistic choice, it was director's choice to have that happen, and I understand why, but I wasn't prepared. And I kind of covered my eyes because it's just me eating, at that point, really cold potatoes.
Now, I know you've worked on other projects by Guillermo del Toro, but was this the first time you worked on something he actually directed?
Yes, he was in the director's chair, and I got to see him make the magic in person. That man is so talented. He's got it all up here. He has so many moving parts, so many actors, so many things going on at once. And I'm there wondering, how is this all going to come together? And he does it. He does it every time. I think he's one of those people who, like, jealously, selfishly, I never want to retire because he has so much to say and so much to do, everything. It was a really special time working with him.
Had you met him before?
Oh, yeah. A bunch of times. Before I even started acting, I saw his exhibit, An Evening with Monsters, at the AGO in Toronto, and I was on the strain, but he produced that one, I believe. So he wasn't in the director's chair by the time I got onto the scene, but I never thought I'd be working face to face with him, and so it really is quite an honor.
What was that set like? I always like carnival settings.
Mm-hmm. We shot the carnival way out in the field in Markham, Ontario, and they brought, I think, authentic old carnival props. They were like, the Ferris wheel was a working Ferris wheel, and I'm sure it must have been someone's collection. It wasn't. The set designer, I think her name was Tam. Oh, geez, I should have written this down. Tam Dev. That might be your Instagram handle, but she brought that set to life. There were posters for all of the different. There was a Dog Boy poster, the human spider, me, the Snake Man, the human skeleton. So much of it that you may or may not have seen because movies get edited, but it was a truly magical set. It was so amazing. It felt like a real carnival set. I wanted to stay there, even though it was in the middle of the field. I wanted to be a part of that for so long, and It was such an exciting time.
That would be a cool Troy James shirt if you had the copy of the Snake Man poster.
I wanted it, but I didn't think I wasn't going to ask. I was like, maybe if I hang around it and look wistful enough, maybe someone will let me have a piece of the magic.
Yeah. Have you ever kept anything for movies?
Sometimes. I think I might actually have the Snake Man banner on the back of our casting chairs. That I think I was allowed to take. When I was on The Flash, there was a whole bunch of Flash swag I got to keep for myself. I still have the binder. I have there's a blanket. I have a water bottle. I brought that to Ireland with me. I had a jacket, but it was stolen, and I'm very upset. I went to New Orleans, and either I lost it or it got stolen, but I don't have it, and I'm very sad.
Oh, that's very. Did you see in black and white? Because I saw when it first came out, then I went and saw it when they did the black and white version.
They had brought the black and white screening to Toronto, but I was in Ireland when it came out, so I didn't get a chance to see it myself.
It really is like a different movie because it has that classic feel even without it, especially like the different dissolves and stuff. And then black and white, it has a totally different feeling.
I think right from the get-go, Del Toro had envisioned it to be a black and white film. It's a film noir after all. So from the beginning, it was meant to be filmed and shot that way. So I'm glad that came out as well.
Yeah. And it's up for multiple Oscars, including Best Picture. So that's very cool.
It was like the set design. I was still blown away. Kate Blanchett's office was just, and in every scene that she was in, she just stole the scene. It was amazing. All the actors. I got to talk with so many A-listers. It was a bit. I'm not one to get starstruck, but it was a little nerve-wracking.
It's an amazing cast. Yeah,
star-studded.
Yeah, so I went to see when it came out. Then I saw black and white, and last week I was in Boston with my friend Annabelle, and she never saw it. It was playing in Boston. I was like, well, let's go see it. So I saw it a third time I don't normally go see movies 3 times in the theater, but It was, and it's 2.5 hours, and it went by.
It is. It's quite a lengthy movie. There was a lot of, I believe, a lot more Carnival stuff that may have been shot, but when you have a movie that's 2.5 hours, things get cut. So
yeah. Because if people haven't seen, it's kind of two movies too. It's the Carnival, and it's a totally different movie as it goes on. Trista, do you have a question?
Do you have any advice for aspiring contortionists?
Well, like a lot of contortionists exist in the circus world right now. I dabbled in circus for a bit in 2018 and 2019 and the talent shows, but I kind of bridged into film and television working as a creature actor. So it really kind of depends on what you want to do with contortion. The circus is an amazing, amazing place. I got to travel Europe and China and meet a whole bunch of amazing performers who can do things I couldn't dream of. It's really, I don't even know the word for it. I feel like I've said magical too many times, but it's just something else. It's a whole different world. And I think with practice and surrounding yourself with the right people and coaches, I think there's a world for you out there. There's a world of people like me here too that make movies. I didn't realize long ago I thought, okay, maybe it's a guy in a rubber suit. I didn't realize the work that went into being able to portray a creature that may not even speak, but still you need to learn everything about it by the way it moves or emotes on screen. And it's bigger than you think.
A couple things there said, how do you approach being a creature? Do you think of like the backstory and the humanity of it?
It depends on the creature I'm playing. Sometimes you are quite simply a mindless being that wants to devour all life in the universe. And other times it's a little more nuanced. For example, going back to Channel Zero, the Dream Door. I play a character that at first is terrifying and kills people, and you have no idea what's going on. But then as the series progresses, you realize that he's got a really soft heart. He really loves the main character, and he's just trying to do things to protect her and make her smile. So you can play a scary creature that's also still lovable at heart. It all depends on your physicality and your emotion, even if you're not speaking.
Yeah. And the when you said about you dabbled in the circus, I don't really think of like that there is a modern circus, but apparently there is. Like, what is the modern circus? First of all, how did you get involved in that? Like, how do you pursue? I'm going to go join the circus. Like, I'm going to go run away and join the circus.
Back in high school, in my yearbook, they wrote, "Join Cirque du Soleil. It's your destiny. Run away and join the circus." But of course, my mother said, "What are you talking about? You're going to university. You are going to get a big boy job." So I never thought that was an option, even though I was always flexible since I was born. And I guess with the advent of social media, you do your thing and people see, and people started saying, "Hey, do you want to come out to perform a live show? Do you want to come out and do this?" And at first I didn't even have an act. People who do circus train for years and years and years, months and months. They work really hard making their bodies into machines that can do superhuman feats. And so I say I dabbled in circus because I didn't do it the proper way. I don't want to say, I grew up practicing 10 hours a day, bending over backwards as many other people do. But I did, the right eyes saw me, and I got invited to Cirque de Demain, which means Circus of Tomorrow in Paris, France, back in 2019. Me and my duo partner at the time, S, we created a duo contortion act. And it was very well received. We performed at the Moulin Rouge. We performed in China. We performed on France's Got Talent. And it kind of moved on from there. I'm sure if I did get offers too to join more circuses and do long-term contracts. But because I'm a character actor first, it's really difficult to do circus and film without, you can't have 2 feet in 2 different pools.
When you play different audiences, like in China, England, do they act differently to different parts of the performance, or is it kind of a universal thing?
Well, I find that there are 2 general reactions to my performances, at least. One of them is, "Wow, that's really cool. How is he doing that? I want to watch this. That's really cool. I want to watch this all day. And then you have the others who are completely freaked out. And they want nothing to do with it. Like, get it away from me. Step on it. Crunch it. It's a spider. Kill it. Go away. When I was in China, there was a judge for one of the Chinese talent shows I did. And she was a Mongolian contortionist. The Mongolian contortion is very beautiful, very elegant, very flowing. You bend in half and you stack onto each other like a pyramid. It's very controlled. But what I do is not. It's very jagged and angular, and she did not like it. She said it was not beautiful. It was not pretty. So different reactions.
Troy was just going to say his favorite horror film.
Okay.
I think it comes back to, I have two. They're tied. And I should update my answers, but still, they just do it for me. It Follows, for one. That got under my skin so much when I watched it, just because of the fact that there could be a being out there that is chasing you and only you, and it will eventually catch you unless you keep moving. There's just something really terrifying about that, no matter where you go. And the second one would be The Autopsy of Jane Doe, because even though it takes place in essentially a room or two in the morgue, it's scary. Oh my goodness, when the action really heats up, I remember I watched that before I went to sleep, and no, it got into my dreams. It was one of those pull the covers really tight and don't move until morning comes.
It's a really original film too. Mm-hmm. And it was, I would have not really known what it was about, which is, I think, is always the best way to go in any movie. But like, it's not what you think. I don't even know what people would think, when you go into the movie. But I'd recommend not reading about it and just going and watching it.
It's a good one.
Yeah. Now, were you always a horror movie fan?
Surprisingly, no. When I was young, I got traumatized by Candyman. I think I might have told you about that one last time, but I'll just refresh you.
Yeah, because I think we were just knowing about the new one coming out. So
yeah. It was. I was warned by my parents not to watch it. It was an adult movie, not for kids, and I decided to rebel when I was too young to rebel, and thought my parents didn't know any better. I climbed downstairs to watch the movie at 2 a.m, and it was not a good idea. It was very, very much not a good idea. So I didn't watch horror for many years after that.
Yeah. What did they say? I told you so? Or
well, I didn't even tell them, but they knew. The next morning when I was just shivering at breakfast, eating porridge, they knew. And yeah, they basically said, "Didn't I tell you?" No sympathy. No sympathy at all. Did
you see the new Candyman?
I have not yet. Oh my goodness. I need to.
Yeah. I would
only good things.
Yeah, I would recommend it. Has working in movies changed how you watch movies? Like, do you still watch them as a movie, or do you watch them like kind of breaking it down as how they made this?
I do find that I do break down, especially like stunt scenes now. I think, okay, I wonder how they did that action, or I wonder how they got this done. I'm definitely looking at monster creation and costumes, and it's almost bad in a way. I really do want to be able to watch movies, just to enjoy them for the movies that they are. But when you do enough of them, you get excited for entirely different reasons. Like, oh wow, that was a really smooth transition, or his costume is phenomenal. I wonder, like, you're looking at how he's built or how she's built when you're watching, when you really should be concentrating on the fact that he just killed 6 people. But when you were going to play a monster, because a lot of your movements are kind of otherworldly. So, but do you ever look at things in nature, like how you're going to move? For a while I did. When I was looking for inspiration, I would look at things like scorpions or segmented arthropods just to see how all their legs move and wonder if I could imitate them. But then I would try to imitate them, and I would look really silly. A lot of it's not fun. It's not what did I say? It's not a beautiful process of creation. It's a lot of looking really silly until you find something that works, or something that you think looks really not interesting, but someone else says, "Whoa, how did you do that? Do that thing again." A lot of the coolest movements have come from someone saying, "Do that thing again," even though I thought it was just, I just kind of bent my elbow and turned my head around. But when you're watching it, it looks a little creepy.
I think when I asked this last one about like any injuries, but how have you been since then?
I'm lucky. No injuries for me.
Oh, very good.
I think I'm lucky in the sense that I can bounce back from things, right? I can bend all the way back and not get injured, wake up every morning feeling fresh. I do wonder what it's going to be like. Ask me again in 10 years. But for the moment, I feel great.
Yeah. I know Trista asked about advice, but do you have advice for people to avoid injuries?
That is what you probably go to see a physiotherapist about, or like a licensed chiropractor or something.
Fair enough. You want someone that like, Troy James on Without Your Head told me to do this, and
he just bent his finger back and he was fine. I could do it. And then, please don't try this at home.
Fair enough. So how did you get involved in Malignant?
James Wan and his team contacted me and brought me out to Los Angeles, and that was it was a blur. It was all of a sudden like a really big movie coming like James Wan, right? The Conjuring. Yeah. I've been a huge fan, and for him, at first he said he's seen my work and he liked it, which was already like, oh my goodness. And then it was like, well, now do you want to be part of this film? And you think you'd be great? And great times.
What was the makeup for Malignant?
Well, Gabriel wore a giant trench coat, which I wore at first, and they shredded it and made it look all spooky. It was a giallo film after all. He wore I could probably send it to you, but he wore there was a face on the back. So we put the coat on backwards, and there was a face on the back of the coat, and all the movements had to be walking backwards. I looked really silly. Marina was the Gabriel also, and she nailed it. She walked backwards, forwards, and then I felt like I was wearing wooden clogs trying to look like a person walking backwards normally, but walking forwards. At one point we had false feet, so it would look like the knees are bending the proper way when you're walking backwards. But those were clunky and didn't end up being used at all. His face, there was a whole animatronic that I think Marina wore on the back of her. It was around her chest to get the face of Annabelle moving like normal in the back, and as well as Gabriel doing all the facial expressions. And that was heavy, but she's a superstar.
Did you have to kind of work together so you have similar movements?
Well, you see some different parts. A lot of the time, like I was more at the beginning when you have absolutely no idea what's going on. But at the same time, me and Gabriel's supposed to be on the back of Annabelle, and Annabelle and I have we're different heights and different body shapes.
That's what I was thinking.
So there was a bit of crisscrossing. There was a part where I think I crawl through a window, and then immediately Marina pops up when Annabelle's on the bed, and it looks seamless. So you think, what is even happening here? But if you have an eagle eye, you'll be able to pick the part and tell who's who.
Yeah, that was one of my favorite movies, horror movies last year. I was a big fan.
Yeah, it was a good one.
Yeah. What was it like to watch the finished movie?
Oh my goodness. Knowing what we did versus what I saw, it was just a bonkers movie. I had so much fun watching it. I liked that it leaned completely into insanity. It didn't hold anything back. I know a lot of people were wondering, what the heck am I watching? Meanwhile, I was like, oh my gosh, this is so awesome.
I mentioned this in the show, but it was one of the most fun experiences in the theater because I was into it, and it was very fun because a lot of the people there were like what you're saying. They were like, what the hell is this? And it really added to the whole experience of watching the movie.
The trailer did not give that away at all.
Yeah.
They did a really good job.
Which I think was good, honestly.
Yeah. I think so too.
Yeah. And you mentioned James Wan, but it's a lot different than a lot of James Wan movies.
Mm-hmm. James Wan and Ingrid Bisu. Ingrid was oh my goodness, I forgot the name of her character in the movie, but she was the one who chased around Krakoa, the detective.
Yeah.
It was their love child.
Yeah. You've worked with a lot of great directors.
I hope to work with them again.
Trista, you have a question?
Do you do a warm up and cool down?
I should. And when I remember to, I do. But for the most part, I'm lazy and I don't. And I eat chocolate instead. But for longevity, if there are any other contortionists out there, don't skip your warm up. Train both sides and always warm up and cool down if you want to continue doing this when you're 40.
I should grab the name here, but someone on Facebook asked about playing Ragdoll in The Flash.
Ooh, Ragdoll's always a fun one to play. He is just deliciously insane. I played him 3 times. I think I had about 3 episodes of The Flash, season 5 and 6. And it's just fun because every time I go back, they put me into smaller and smaller boxes and say, well, can you crawl to this? How about this? The first time it was a gift box. The second time it was a briefcase. The third time, I think it was like a police file, a small box. And he's insane and evil. So it's fun being able to throw away any pretense of being a respectable person and just being someone who wants to cause as much mayhem and destruction as possible.
That was Justin Adams, by the way. I would like to get their name in there. He was asking, are you a comic book fan?
Yes, but not as much as my father. My father has a whole trunk full of comics, like a huge trunk. I can't state how big this trunk is. And you can tell him something and he'll think, oh yeah, that's from like this issue. And he'll ask me questions about superheroes because like, no, you're doing superhero stuff now. And I can't keep up with them because I didn't grow up reading. I read other books. I read novels. I read science books, believe it or not. I like comics, but I didn't have a collection of them myself. I kind of read whatever kind of came across my desk.
Yeah. The other Troy on the show, my brother, was a big comic book fan growing up, and it is actually fun to see the Marvel movies. He's a big Marvel fan, and because it's like watching a kid watch the movie because he's very excited to see all the characters that he saw. I remember because he even had he has a Thanos tattoo long before the movie, and I'm sure people now just assume he got it because of the Avengers movie.
Oh no, that must bug him so much. I was a fan of a lot of the animated television series of the comic books. That's what I grew up. I grew up watching all the Spider-Man shows, the X-Men shows, all of that. But I can't claim to be like super knowledgeable in comic lore.
That must have been fun for your father to see you in The Flash.
Yeah, he had a whole bunch of questions I couldn't answer. I felt really bad. Because he knows all the different timelines too, and once you get into like the different iterations of heroes and different universes and the crossovers, it's too much for my head. So I like comics, but
he can give you advice next time on the next time you play Ragdoll.
Certainly.
And Alan Sessler wants to know about filming The Void.
Ooh, that was my first film, believe it or not, with Steven Kostensky, and I got to play the Sleepwalker. That one was a lot of fun. It was my first experience being in a suit and acting, so to speak. And I remember finishing and immediately wanting to do it again, thinking, well, that was a lot of fun. Now I have to go back to my internship working at an office. But at that time, I didn't know this is going to be my life. So I'm really glad I took that step and did it. Funny story about The Void. When you see me as a sleepwalker, I'm in a heap on the floor and I kind of rise up and unfortunately kill one of the cast members. But we had cut and I think they were going to reset some of the cameras. And I was just lying there because why not? I was comfortable, even though I was all twisted and contorted on the floor. And I think the cameraman and someone else came to have a conversation right at my feet. And I was like this for about 5 minutes, but then I wanted to see who was talking. And I turned my head and the camera guy jumped. Not the camera guy, the guy who was talking to jumped because he thought I was a prop. He thought I was just like a dummy on the floor that suddenly turned and looked at him and he jumped so high. Fun times.
I love that. So I don't think that's technically an Astron 6 movie, but it's two of the guys from Astron 6 made it.
Mm-hmm.
And, how did that come about? You said it's your first movie.
I was working at Canada's Wonderland Halloween Haunt at the time. It's a theme park in Canada, and every October they turn the whole park into a haunted theme park with mazes and scary monsters walking around. I was working on a roller coaster at the time, and the managers asked me if I wanted to dress up because they knew I was flexible. They thought I'd be a great monster. And I got paid to run around and scare guests. That was amazing. I did that. And I think because of that, there were other actors who did that. And they said, hey, you should audition for this film. And they sent me, I had to make a demo tape and send off. And I'd never done that before. I had my friend help me. I sent it off. And I think they said that they were blown away. They'd never seen something like that before. And they immediately wanted to fly me out to Sault Ste. Marie to make the void. And I got to make some cool friends. We still keep in contact now, actually.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah. Our next trip, we're going to take Steve to Tokyo.
Oh, nice. Have you been to Tokyo?
I have. I've been twice. The first time I did a game show there, and the second time I did a Japanese commercial for a suit. It was a stretchy suit, and they wanted the stretchy person to show off the suit, and I did. They dyed my hair and everything.
Oh, really? What color?
Blonde. And I will never dye my hair again.
I was going to ask. I'm not sure how that looks on you. I don't know.
I'll show you a picture. It's something.
Yeah, I'm very interested. Trista, you have another question?
I've seen that commercial, actually.
Really?
I think it was on your website, and it's so good. Everything you do, you're so humble, but even just the commercial, it blew my mind. It stuck with me. I saw it a long time ago, but truly.
Thank you.
But you're welcome. My question is there a tight-knit or extensive contortionist community? Are there expos or cons or anything like that?
I think there is a contortionist convention. I've never been before, but I have heard about it. It's already kind of niche in circus anyway. Like you have the jugglers, the tightrope walkers, the acrobats, and then you have contortion, which is already kind of small in the circus community as a whole. But they're out there, and it's definitely an art practice. It's a discipline, first and foremost. There are parallels. You'll see high levels of flexibility in dance, as well as yoga, the strengthening meditation technique. You develop flexibility as well. Contortion requires both strength and flexibility, though, to stabilize you when you are in extreme positions. Because if you're very flexible but not strong, you can't hold yourself there, and you're prone to injury. So you need to develop both. It's something that you can learn it for sure, but it's long and not very comfortable. But there is a community out there for sure.
Along those lines, when you said you dabbled in the circus, was everyone accepting, or was there any negativity, like you're not a full-time part of this life?
In my head, there definitely was. I thought like the imposter syndrome was very real, but no, everyone was very nice. Everyone there had practiced their own art for years and years, and really just appreciated seeing other people showing off the best of their skills. For myself, I cannot juggle. I cannot do straps and like hold myself in the air on silks and fly through the air. So seeing that, people at the top of their game was phenomenal. And I believe that the other people had the same appreciation towards all of the other acts as well.
Earlier you mentioned James Wan saw your work and asked you to be in the movie, which is amazing. Is there any are there any things you've done that you think are under the radar that you would like people to see, that you would like people to have more eyes on it? I
don't know. I'm still a very shy person, so a lot of the times actually I'll do things and I just won't ever share them. What I am having fun with is wire work. So you take the skills I already have, but they put you on wires, and then you can fly and crawl on the walls and crawl on the ceilings. And that's always fun. A lot of times I get to do that. I'm doing it in the film, so I can't really show people. But just recently I started playing around with a friend who owns a gym, and he does wire work. So we've made a few videos of just us doing really cool things that don't really belong anywhere. Just like, what happened if an explosion happened, hit you against the wall, but you were actually an alien and you started crawling up the wall? Or can you go down the ladder like really weirdly? And I have a bunch of those floating around that I may or may not post sometime. But fun stuff like that.
Yeah, I would like to see it. I know you can't talk too much about it, but I'm interested for Wendigo that's coming out.
Oh, yes. So we shot that one quite a while ago. It's still in post-production, so I probably can't reveal too many details. But I remember the first time I read about the Windigo, I was a child. It was actually in the Scary Stories Tell in the Dark book. There's an excerpt called The Windigo. And there is, in that one, the Windigo is a being that carries you across the snow and eventually picks you up into the sky and drops you. Terrifying. It was Scary Stories by Alvin Schwartz. I think it was illustrated by Stephen Gamel. The illustrations are terrifying, by the way, in those books. But this Windigo was a bit different. It was more along the... I know it's a Native American legend around the Great Lakes area of the United States and Canada. This one is an evil being that just has insatiable greed and hunger. And I think there's a bit of cannibalism in there as well. This one is... That Windigo is just ancient and evil, and it was different for me because a lot of the movements I do are otherworldly, but this one was just so evil and powerful that it really could be like a hulking beast stalking through the forest. And so that was a different character of mine to play that I had a lot of fun with. I wish I could share pictures, but I can't. And the costume itself was phenomenal. I couldn't sit down because I had giant sticks coming out of my back.
Oh, really?
I hope that wasn't I hope that was not too much to say. I should probably stop before I get in trouble.
Yeah, we'll save it for part 3.
Mm-hmm.
But along those lines, we won't go into the Wendigo, but what are some of the things you played that were the hardest, just physically?
I would say Jangly Man was pretty physical from Scary Stories Tell in the Dark because he was upside down all the time. I would also say, there was another one. What is it? Oh, well, Malibu Horror Tapes wasn't difficult, but I was very self-conscious because I was wearing a loincloth for the entire time. It was just a little bit of fabric, and I was very much in my head about it in terms of moving and crawling on, exposure and modesty.
Right. I was going to wear that for the interview, but it's too cold. No one would watch. Yeah.
No, of course not. That would be a whole different rating. It'd be a whole different show, Neal.
Yeah.
But so it's weird for me for different reasons, and I find that I've been doing more creature work where I'm wearing less and less clothing because it's all they want to see the human body, and they put prosthetics on or applications on, but it's really about the human physicality and how it transforms into a monster. So you get over your modesty pretty quickly.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because when we started, you said, part of, like nervous for interviews, but when you're playing a monster, you're all covered up. And then here was something where you were not covered up. It's the opposite.
Oh, no. There was a film I did just recently where I think right before I was all set, they said, great, you're going to be this monster, you're going to be this demon, it's going to be really cool. And then I was about to get on the plane and I got an email saying, what's your Speedo size? You're wearing a Speedo for this movie and we're painting you black. And I thought, oh no. And it was hard. Like I'd already signed the contract. It was already done. I had just came back from Italy where I'd eaten all the pasta, all week. I just ate everything. And so that happened.
Malibu Horror Story looked like it was, I haven't seen it, I have to admit, but it looks like it was filmed outside.
But yes. Well, we filmed it in a bunch of different places actually, but most of it was.
I was wondering if it was cold since you're just
in a cave,
in
a cold cave. I had a little warm-up blanket I got to put on when we were not filming because it got really, really cold. Even I didn't think California did get cold, but where we were in Northern California, and it got cold. But that the costume too was like it was a loincloth and paint and mud and really just not much. So you might, if I think you might see goosebumps if you're watching, because I was definitely freezing.
Yeah. Trista, another question?
So I'm always interested in what scares horror creators. Do you have any fears or phobias you can share with us?
Phobias. When I was young, I was afraid of the dark, and now I love the dark. I can only sleep in complete pitch blackness, darkness. I would say, phobias. Like in terms of like ways to die, I would hate to drown. Drowning is terrifying. I love to swim, but I fear drowning. Or it's not a
That's
phobia.
probably a good reason to be a good swimmer.
Well, I taught myself how to swim, so now I'm purposely, anything to avoid drowning. No, I love swimming, but fears. They're kind of related all to death in a way. Fears of like your loved ones getting hurt, or drowning is another one. But I don't know about like just things that I don't like to look at, things that are scary that I don't want to be around. I have to, I should have thought about that one. I'll think about it. Maybe in a minute or two, I'll have an answer.
All right. Yeah, well, don't think too much about it. We don't want you to get scared. Yeah. But Are you working on anything currently?
I'm about to. I have a project that I'm going to be doing at the end of next month, but because I can't be any fun, it's all hush hush right now.
But you're a busy guy, because we've been trying to do part 2 for a while. So we caught you in between things.
I'm happy. It's a good thing.
It's definitely a good thing. Yeah. We caught you after Ireland. I thought maybe Ireland you were actually going to film some, but then I saw you pictures of hanging out in shipwrecks and drinking in pubs.
Yes. Wait. Bugs. I don't like I play bugs, but I don't like bugs. Or I like bugs outside, but I do not like bugs inside. Once they're inside my house, that's a no-no. I don't like it. They need to not be here. Insects.
Well, luckily you don't have any in the basement there.
For a while I did. Like when they got really cold, they all try to come in because it's freezing outside. And no, nature is good when it's outside. I don't like my nature inside.
Yeah, for a while down here, I had cave crickets, which were very creepy looking. The cement wall was covered in these black. They were very long and black, and I didn't know what they were at first, but I found out they were cave crickets. So a dehumidifier actually helps, because then it's not as humid in this basement. So if you ever have cave crickets, get a dehumidifier. This is my advice. Centipedes, millipedes, all those little legs, like they're fascinating to look at in video or outside, but the minute they're inside and I see them like crawl underneath the couch or like a counter. All right. Well, now we know how to scare Troy, but we won't do that.
Of course, the creature guy is afraid of creatures. So strange.
I like that. Maybe that could help your performance. You think of what would scare you, and you try to scare the audience. All right. So, where can people follow you if they want to see what you're up to?
Sure. I am Twisty Troy on both Twitter and Instagram, as well as Facebook.
I should have introduced you as Twisty Troy. We have Terrible Troy and Twisty Troy. That's how we could differentiate.
Oh, it's going to be a duel to the death of the Troys. It can only be one. But yeah, I'm around. I'm on the social medias.
By the way, Troy's 9 years older than me, his older brother. But when I went to school, a lot of my teachers would call me Troy because they taught him too. And I think we look absolutely nothing alike, which was always very strange if people would call me Troy. Yeah,
I think I've only been in class with one other Troy. I've been in classes with like 5 or 6 Mikes, but Troy was always one of those that just wasn't. And I know it's a popular name, but for me, I've only come across one other in my schooling years. People mistake me and call me Trevor all the time. I don't know why.
Really?
There's so many other letters, so many extra vowels. It's only four letters in one syllable. How do you get it wrong?
Yeah, see, maybe Trey or something. Yeah, but Troy is a weird one. Yeah, I mean, Trevor is a weird one.
If I called you Nelson out of nowhere.
It makes, I don't know why I thought this, but when I was in Spanish class, there was no equivalent to Neal. And so the teacher called me Ricardo, and I never understood that. You would think you would at least have an end name, but yeah.
Wow. That's a bit out there.
Yeah, it has nothing to do with anything. But I just thought, but so anyway, it was very cool to talk with you again.
Of course, I was happy to come back. Sorry it took so long.
No, we're happy that you have a lot of stuff going on.
Keep an eye out for me.
Yeah, and I am always happy when I see you pop up. I went to see Malignant, and then I found out you were in it, and I think you weren't allowed to talk about it at the time, and then I was really happy because I could tell it was you right away in Nightmare Alley.
Yeah, that one was. There's no getting around it. It's definitely me wearing a really cool wig and a cool snake outfit.
It was very cool. All right, this is very fun, and you're always very pleasant. Always seem upbeat.
It's always fun talking to the both of you.
Very nice. Yeah.
Oh, thank you. We love you, Troy.
Love you too.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.